Hi, this is Jason Kelly with the South Bend Tribune. I'm here with Notre Dame men's basketball beat writer Tom Noie. Last week, Tom, it was Big East tournament time. Now we're talking about the NCAA tournament. Just the individual hardware at the Big East, none of the team stuff we thought they might have a shot at. How did that affect what happened to them in the tournament? And talk a little bit about what their first round seed and opponent will be like out in Denver this week.
Very little. I think the Marquette matchup was a very difficult matchup for them. They knew it going in. It was going to be a tough game. I don't know if it dropped their seed very far. They were a 5 seed basically because of their relatively weak non-conference schedule, but they're a solid 5 because they go 14-4 in the league, one of the toughest conferences in the country. So 5 seed, they get George Mason, first round in Denver. Looking forward to it. Everybody said George Mason. Can they recapture the magic of 2006 when they went to the Final Four? So we'll see what happens with Notre Dame, but I think they're ready to show the Big East tournament. It's over. Let's start fresh and see what happens in the NCAA tournament.
Yes, George Mason is the ultimate Cinderella. It's a 5-12 game, which is always an upset pick for people. But how do you think Notre Dame's mindset is going into this, based on last year's experience and based on just how they're playing, how they played all year long? What do you expect from them in the tournament against this ultimate Cinderella?
Well, it's a 5-12 matchup, and everybody says that's where the upset happens. But the last time Notre Dame went to the Sweet 16, they were a 5. They did it as a 5 seed, beat Wisconsin, Milwaukee barely on a last-second shot that was missed by Milwaukee. Then they beat Illinois, so they like where they are right now, because last year when they went back to the NCAA tournament for the first time in 4 years, I think they were a little nervous. It was a whole new experience for them going out to Spokane. They got caught up in all the hoopla, everything else besides the game. It was, oh, by the way, we have to play a basketball game. So now the players are saying we're going out there and concentrating mainly on playing the basketball game. Doesn't matter if it's Denver or Tampa or Washington or wherever. We're going to go out there and play basketball and not concentrate on all the off-court stuff.
Okay, Mike Bray wouldn't dare look ahead, and the team wouldn't dare do this, but we can. So,
absolutely.
Washington State or Winthrop in the second round, assuming the Irish can't get by George Mason. What do you see about in that second round?
It'll be a good matchup if it is Washington State and the seeds do hold, because Washington State is similar to George Mason in that they really embrace defense and get after you defensively. They like to keep the game in the 50s and 60s, and there have been some games late in the league play that Notre Dame played that way, where it wasn't very pretty. It was a grinded out type of game. So Washington State, I think they would be very prepared for, as would they Winthrop, because Winthrop beat them last year. A year ago Sunday, they were eliminated in the first round. So either of those two, and then, oh, by the way, what's looming after that? Well, we can get to that next week.
Yeah, if we have to talk about that next week, we can imagine how a game against North Carolina in Charlotte might turn out. But how about an overall view of the tournament? How do you see this playing out? Who do you like either in the Final Four or as your national champion?
Well, I like UCLA. UCLA's been there the last 2 seasons. They've probably got one of the top teams in the country. They are number 1 seed out west. They start in Anaheim, which is basically a home game for them, first 2 rounds. So everybody talks about Memphis. They talk about Carolina, maybe Tennessee, this team, that team from the East. UCLA is way out there on the West Coast. They just happen to just go out and win every year. So I like UCLA to win it, maybe Tennessee to get to the Final Four. I don't know if Memphis has enough because their foul shooting is just so poor. So we'll see what happens in North Carolina. They're the number 1 seed overall. So yeah, everybody thinks the Tar Heels are going to get to the Final Four in San Antonio.
All right, thanks for joining us, Tom. You can follow Tom's coverage of the Notre Dame men's basketball team this week on SouthBendTribune.com. We got a late start on Thursday night, almost 10 o'clock. So
a deadline killer.
Follow all the coverage online on SouthBendTribune.com.